finishing one off this week and next week in Queanbeyan. All right, next slide.
Again, like if you have any question, you can always, what would you like to do, Lindsay? You just keep going on your PowerPoint presentation and question session at the end?
Yeah. I think that's the best way. And then I can get through it. And if there's questions and that sort of thing, I can talk to people. So
sounds good. Okay.
This was an article that was actually in Australian Property Investor a little while ago. So this is actually a story on an older Queanbeyan property that we did probably a couple of years ago now. So it was all my renos, there's no structural things to them, so we don't add bedrooms or we don't add levels or any of that sort of stuff. So we pretty much just renovate what we've got there. And this was just a quick flip, this particular one, just over the border in Queanbeyan. So it just sort of shows you what can be done relatively quickly. Next slide. So these are just some of the projects that we've done. That top left one's actually Queanbeyan. The one we did a while ago, the top right one, which is Canberra, which is down south. That was my first reno I ever did, probably about 4 years ago. And the bottom left one, Scullen, that's the north side of Canberra. Just 3-bed, 1-bath house, pretty simple, that one. And the Holt one, which is also north side as well. That's a 4-bed, 2-bath. That is swimming pool, 1,400 square metre block. Like, that was really good one. But the types of reno that we do, most of this stuff was built back in the 70s. The Queanbeyan one, I think, was built back in the 50s. But that's the sort of stuff that I look for, is things probably built around in the 70s is definite interest to me. Next slide. This one we actually did. This was done the south side of Canberra. It's probably my most ambitious one yet. This one was a house that had been owned by a woman for 20 years that just had left it there. And then squatters had been living in there. And then one day they decided to actually set fire to the lounge room, which is those front 2 windows in the middle on the right. It's where the fire started, and basically burnt the house out. So originally this went to auction. So it had to be somebody that you couldn't get a bank loan on it. So it had to be someone that could just buy it outright. So originally we were going to do this as a reno, but it actually turned out that my brother liked it so much. It was actually opposite the kids' school, is across the road. He actually bought it. So we did the reno for him to actually move into it. Next slide. So this is sort of the before photos here. You can see sort of the fire was started on the top left. That's the lounge room there, and all are burnt out. That used to be the old hallway. All through there was burnt. And the kitchen there, which is sort of just off the hallway, again, all just burnt out by fire. So luckily with this one, the reason we bought this was the fire, as you can see in the top left photo, didn't actually penetrate through the plasterboard. So all the ceiling, all the tiles on the roof, and all the framing above it was all intact. So there were no fire in the ceiling beyond that. So if there'd been fire through there and it all gone into the structure above it, we wouldn't have bothered, because you'd probably knock the house down. It wouldn't be worth bothering. If you click, and this is the after, so it's actually my brother moving in, that hence all the furniture in there. But pretty much these are the same perspective of photos. So you'll see that the hallway's gone. It's all been opened up there now. And the bottom right one, that's actually the kitchen in there. So he's got a European laundry there to the left of the back door. As before, there was a really big laundry that served no purpose, so we thought we'd open it up and make a much bigger kitchen. This type of renos had a fair amount of money spent on it, because he went for all the flooring that he liked, and these are stone bench tops, all that sort of stuff. So it's not something that I would normally spend that sort of money on. I'd probably cut the budget back a bit. However, he was living there, so as you live in your own home, you tend to spend a bit more money on the things you like. So that's pretty much what he did on that one. Next slide. So if we would have sold this, these are basically the figures there anyway, so you can have a look at it. Probably would have made about 60 grand or so on it. So yeah, not a bad reno. That's pretty. It was a fairly expensive one, as we had to do all the bathrooms, the kitchen. There was about $12,000 worth of time just to get rid of all the debris and everything that was burnt out. So and lots of skip fees as well. So there's a lot of expenses in there that you don't actually see, and a normal reno wouldn't get those. Okay, this next one is the one that we've just got under offer. So it's sold, so it settles in about 3 weeks' time. So this is north side in Belconnen. It was a termite house, so the termites had actually moved out. If you can click again. Yeah, just click through. There'll be 4 photos there. So what we did here, they'd had a pest inspector who'd done one of those invasive inspections. So that means they basically go to each room and pull a hunk of plasterboard off and pull bits off all over the place to make sure the termites aren't there anymore, and they weren't. We actually had a pest report done which showed that they'd long gone as well. So it was a case of, normally I get rid of kitchens. This one I kept the cabinets at the bottom. We replaced the bench top. Also got new appliances. You can sort of see the dishwasher sitting there by itself. We actually moved that into the laundry. The laundry is so big that we could fit the dishwasher in there. So it's sort of like one of those butler's pantries, which are all nowadays. In the photos, the termites snacked on that beam across the top. Go back. Yeah, the termites snacked on that beam and also did a bit of work on the bottom left there. Outside, pretty minor landscaping, really didn't have to do much on that. The next slide.
Wow, that looks good.
Yeah, that's the finished product. So on the outside, the bottom left one, you can see there, all we did was put a bit of bark around the front and we painted the roof. And then that was pretty much it, and tidied the garden up a little bit. But we really didn't have to do a lot, which was great. So if you ever after a reno and you don't have to do a lot on the outside, you'll save yourself a fortune. Inside there, that's our furniture that we put into it. So for the staging, so yeah, you can see all the beams being repaired and above the window and all of that. And the bottom right-hand corner one, again, that's all staging. We actually bought all that ourselves this time around. We'd been using others and paying about $2,500 to $3,000 for staging. So I just decided this time I'll just buy it myself, and we ended up doing it ourselves. So we'll just roll this onto our current reno that we're doing in Queanbeyan. So I won't be spending that sort of money again. And the next slide is the figures. So yeah, just click through these because they pop up. This property was actually, yeah, go back. Yeah, that's it. This one was actually purchased off market, so we were basically just ringing and emailing agents. Hence, that's why we got it fairly cheap. Basically, the owner had enough of the termites. They had some bad tenants in there, and they just decided that they wanted to get rid of the house. So this one we bought off an agent. Didn't actually go to realestate.com either. Fairly
Sorry,
cheap.
guys. Can I just interject for 1 second? I've just seen a lot of feed on WhatsApp. A lot of people are struggling to actually join the meeting because the original link had an incorrect meeting number. So I've just been sort of popping in and trying to tell people what to do to join. But yeah, you'll probably find we'll get more people joining as we go on. So we might be better to put ourselves on hold for a few minutes and wait.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, you're right, Virginia. Underneath that's when I put some. What's happened? I have 2 Zooms, and one of them is not really working well.
While we're waiting, can I just ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, sure.
Just with your figures, I notice you've allowed for your stamp duty and legals for when you're purchasing the property. Have you, assuming that you're then on selling the property to realise the profit, have you also allowed for selling fees, like your agent's fees and marketing and the like?
Yeah, yep. So the that's in there in that 31. So it's about I think this agent cost us 12 grand for all of that.
Right. So your stamps, legal interest, that's basically that's in and out. Is that right?
Yeah.
So buying and selling.
Yeah.
Right. Got it. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And are you doing the reno yourself, or are you subbing it out to tradespeople?
I used to, back in the day when I first started, I used to think I could do all the stuff and did it all pretty average. But no, now we've got tradies that do pretty much everything.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, good.
With this project, how long it will take you to complete this project?
Normally I try and get early access to them, but the owner was really paranoid about all of that, and we went, okay, so I had to wait 30 days to settle it. So then it was probably about 6 weeks or so.
Wow.
To do. It's normally 4 to 6, but somewhere in there.
For 87,000 profit, not too bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it's taken me a while to get to that figure, as you saw in some of the earlier ones. If you're just starting this out, I'm not sure what people's experiences are, but you build up on it. It's like everything. You get better over time, and you can buy better and all that sort of stuff. So, don't take that as you think.
Yeah, that's the one is. Well,
this one's there. So there's a variety of figures in there. So it gives you an idea anyway.
Do you have a standard team that you use, or is that coming up later?
What do you mean standard?
Builder team, like you have a core group of builders or plasterers or whatever that you use?
Yeah. So that on that slide there, that top right one, that's Canberra. That was the first one I ever did. So I didn't actually have any trades at all. So I just went to that service seeking website.
Yeah.
And I just said, I need someone to paint my house. So I actually interviewed like 7 painters. I need some carpenters. I interviewed a few of them. And actually, the painter that I found on that first house, I'm still using today, actually. So it worked out really well.
And with this Canberra, how long it will take you to finish that?
The current one?
Yeah, I mean, the one is on the top front. This one Canberra, that's 75.
Oh, yeah, the first one. Huh. Yeah, about 6 months. I even tried to sell it myself. So yeah, it was back in the day where I thought, let's do some work yourself and all that sort of stuff. And just, I thought I could paint inside, and I got quotes to paint outside, and I actually said to the painter, how much to finish off the job on the inside. I think he said, $1,500. I said, great, no worries. I'll pay you that. You can do that. It was early days, and I did think I could do everything, but now it's way more efficient to have people do that sort of stuff for you.
Well, it looks like everyone's managed to join us now, so I just did a quick double check. So if you want to continue.
Yeah, no worries. We're pretty close to done anyway. So.
Yeah, that's right. So probably, if you don't mind, it's Lindsay, just a quick explain us again about this one. I know it's everyone just join up.
These are about 4 of the ones I've done over time just to show people. So the top left is Queanbeyan, and that's in New South Wales, just over the border from Canberra. The Canberra one, that was my first one. So that's south side. And these bottom 2, Scullin there, that's north side in Belconnen, and Holt is also in Belconnen. And also, what I'd say to people is, if you're looking to do this sort of stuff, we just buy stuff that's built in the 70s because it's of that age that it basically fits nicely for renovation.
So what do you mean doing on a property, Lindsay, if you find one?
What sort of work do we do?
Yeah, that's right.
It varies. That one we showed you most recently with the nice furniture, the Spence one, this one. It really depends. Like this was actually our first house that we didn't have to do much on the outside. So we didn't even paint it. That's its actual colour. The only thing I did to that was its roof, and you can see a bit of bark around it. So it really depends. But a lot of them, look, I must say that one's pretty rare that we find one where you don't have to do too much on the outside. The majority of them actually all get painted on the outside, painted the roof, gardening. What do we do on the inside? They all get a paint job. They'll all get pretty much a new kitchen, new flooring, really the whole treatment. And sometimes we might see if we can squeeze an ensuite if we've got enough space. But we tend not to go too much into it. We don't do any real building work as such, like adding lounge rooms or, adding bedrooms, second stories or any of that sort of stuff. Because we really, the name of this game is basically just get in and out as rather than spending a lot of time being bogged down by permits.
It seems like Lindsay, it's Louise is a good question that he seems like to ask.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. I was wondering if you know anything about, if you were to take one of those properties that you've renovated, for example, could you do one of these renovations, say, while you have a property under option?
You mean sort of two at once? Is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, if you say, like you're talking outright purchase the property, renovate it, sell it, make the profit.
Yeah.
What about if you get a call and even go to the extent of perhaps, being really confident in order to get the vendor to sell you the property that you want to renovate, put a put and call option in. So you've got both aspects. They can force you to purchase and settle on that date. Now, I've been told conflicting opinions about whether you can renovate whilst the property is under option or whether you can't. I'm just wondering if you know anything on that.
I think it's all too complicated. I know a lot of people teach this stuff, but I think it just becomes more and more complicated. So the way we do it, it's basically we go to buy the property and then we'll try and put some clauses in so we get early access before we have to settle on it. So most of them I can do that, and it gives us sort of 30 days of free time to get the reno done, and then we can sell it quickly. So you're just going to be careful with property. People tell you all the stuff of call options. It just makes it more complicated. And also, legally, you're asking sort of legal advice too. That everyone's going to have a different opinion. I think if you're considering that put and call, you really need to have a chat to your solicitor about your state and what the different laws are, and probably your accountant too, because if you get it wrong, you probably get a big tax bill too.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's now I will move next to the next slide, which
that's the numbers on that one.
Tell us a little bit about this one, Lindsay, please.
This one was purchased off market. A lot of ours are purchased off market. I think I've only ever bought 2 at auction or from realestate.com in my life. The rest have been through agents. So for people that didn't hear before, that stamps legal interest. That's with the agents' fees in there as well, and 2 lots of legal in and out. Reno, this one's pretty cheap. Your average reno is going to cost you, if you have to do more work. This one, we didn't have to do much to the kitchen, so we saved a fair bit there. Also, didn't have to do anything to the bathroom. We only retiled the floor, so probably 15, 20, 25 grand saved in those 2 spaces. So your typical reno is probably going to cost you 50, 60 grand if you're getting into bathrooms and kitchens. So this one was a little bit cheaper. Sale price, look for a medium price in the suburb. Buying well under it. There's a whole lot of properties over that in price, but affordability becomes a lot harder for people if you're trying to sell a property worth, say, 800 grand as a reno. there's less buyers at 800 than you've got at, say, 500. And as discussed, the gain was good on this one because we didn't have to do a lot of the things like the bathrooms, the kitchen, all the outdoor work and all of that. So that would have come down if we'd had to get caught up doing bathrooms and kitchens as well. So that would probably come down 25 grand. So
how much roughly do you think for the kitchen? Like just ordinary one, maybe bench top is stone. Roughly how much is the budget we need to spend?
Look, 6-7 grand with the appliances, just sort of, not really no-name appliance type stuff for this level of property. About 500 grand, that's sort of quite okay. And that's with a stone bench top of some decent sort of brand. And all our cabinetry we actually get made in Queanbeyan, so it's all made here. So like a proper joinery would make the cabinets. So we don't use Bunnings kitchens or IKEA or any of that sort of stuff.
I know I asked this one before, Lindsay, but maybe some of us, some of the in the group hasn't heard this one. How long it will take you to complete this renovation for this one?
Look, originally it took me 6 months to do my first house, so I thought that was pretty good. However, now we can get them down to about 4 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
Also, just depends if we get the early access from the owner as well. If we don't, then we just have to wait a month and then we can get to it once we own it.
Not too bad, hey. Like even like 6 months for 87,000, your profit. Wow.
That's right. Look, this is sort of warts and all. So it is the showing you what can be done. However, I just sort of caution you if you're starting out. It just takes time to get to. You need a few deals under your belt to be able to get all your systems in place, get your traders in place, so to get this sort of gain from it. So, but it's life's about having a go. So that's what I did. I didn't have any reno experience when I started. I just thought it'd be interesting. So I just rocked up at an auction one day and found the crappiest house I could on the internet and figured, oh well, if I can get this cheap, I'll make money. So that was the first one we did in Canberra on the south side. So actually, yeah, it worked out all right.
What about the capital gains? Do you?
It's all bought in a company name, so we just pay our taxes as normal. If you're doing it in your own name, you'll strike capital gains.
I see. Oh, not too bad, eh? That's good.
So if you
Well,
click
I have another question.
Yeah.
When you mentioned that you purchase a lot of these properties off market. So I take it there's a particular criteria you're looking for. Obviously, if renos, you possibly are trying to avoid having to do bathrooms and kitchens because they're substantial costs.
Yeah.
But what are the other key factors you look for in this criteria to, especially when you're starting out? What sort of house would I look for if I want to do a simple renovation and just make a small, reasonable profit?
Yeah. I've always, for all of these houses, we've looked for the crappiest houses we could find. So that they were the criteria to the agent. Like, we want something that's been abandoned or has had problem tenants or jungle garden. We write all this sort of stuff in our emails so they read them. But really, it's the old story of, a good street with the rundown house sitting on it, that sort of thing. So it's just something that people, and you look on realestate.com, you look at it and go, oh my God, or an original condition house, really, something really original. And then you need to tie that in with someone who's actually motivated to sell it. So people may fall sometimes into the trap where they look on the internet and it fits the criteria of a 70s house. It needs a full renovation. However, problem is, one, it's probably too expensive or they're trying to get market value for it. And the second thing is that you need to be careful how much money you spend on the reno as well. So I would just say to that question, if you're emailing or ringing agents, you just want something that's probably run down and they're a motivated seller. And I would just say, oh, look, is it a deceased estate, and the owner and the agent will go, oh, no, it's a blah, blah, blah. They're moving on, or they've had problem tenants or something. So as soon as you hear those words, then you go, oh, okay. So that they are the clues to knowing you're on the right track. If you ring the agent and he says, oh, no, it's in livable condition and we're just going to auction it, and this is the price, and the price is very close to what you think you could probably sell it for with a reno, you go, okay, thanks, I'll keep in touch. So something like that.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Now, I heard this one. You bought a lot of properties on no money down, and that's what the secret is. I will put the I will click the next
Yeah. I'll talk about it a bit about this.
Yeah. All right. I will do the next one.
Yeah, just click through them. So the way we've been able to sort of do this is actually, use other people's money and no money down, those sorts of things. So basically the two deals, the Spence house, which was the termite one, and the one that we can't really doing at the moment, we've actually used investors from interstate in Brisbane to actually fund the money side. So I've actually taken out the loans and they've tipped the money in. And basically that's allowed us to actually do two properties at once. So when you start get rolling with this and you want to do more, start talking to your friends and your family and that sort of thing, where you can find investors rather than saying, okay, I've got to find 100 grand to pay for the deposit and the stamp duty and then more money for the reno. Why not go and find somebody else out there who wants a better return on their money, and then say to them, hey, why don't you team up with me and we'll do this reno and do it like that. So that way it doesn't put as much financial stress on you, because you're basically using other people's money, and it's the same terminology as like no money down. That's another one. So various, if you've gone to courses in your life, they talk a lot about this no money down and using investors. So it's basically the same thing that we do.
That's great. Anyone has a question for Lindsay? Hang on, I think it's unmute all. Anyone has a question for Lindsay?
Not for me, thank you. I asked all mine as we've gone. Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah, nice.
I do have a question. You there?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. I'm just interested. Obviously, you're buying the properties.
Hang on. Bruce,
You're buying them under market.
Sorry. Where is Bruce? Yeah, unmute.
Have you actually done an assessment as to how much value is being added by the renovation versus how much value is being added by actually marketing it properly?
Oh, hang on. You know what? I muted Lindsay. Where are you, Lindsay? Sorry, Lindsay.
Yeah, that's it. So how do you mean by marketed it properly?
So as I see it, well, you know, from what you're saying, you're saying that you're buying properties essentially under market value, whether it be a distressed situation or off market or what have you. So you're getting them for less of what they would get if they went to market in a normal sort of properly marketed way. So obviously that's where some of your profit comes from, and the other part of it comes from, pardon me, from the renovation itself. Have you actually done an assessment? So looked at comparable properties and CMAs and that kind of thing to see just how much of your profit is coming from the reno versus how much is coming from the fact that you're buying it off market from a distressed seller, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting because they've been bought off real estate agents. So the agents spoken to the seller prior to ever meeting me and discussed the price.
So I wasn't quite picking that up. Just when you said off market, I had assumed that you'd managed to deal directly with the vendor rather than going to an agent or something.
No. They're just off market. I mean, they just don't go to realestate.com or the websites.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So we still pay, within $5,000, whatever their price is that they deem it's worth. And
Right.
look,
Okay. Yep.
yeah, is it under market value? I mean, you could sort of argue that, if they put it on the market, they'd have to spend the marketing, $3,000 or whatever. And would they get any more money? The agent sort of appraised it, and he's done his work. So, look, maybe. But I tend to buy them like that. And also that one you saw, which was burnt out by fire, that actually did go to an auction. So I was sitting in the room in town with other people. So it went for
that one really was true market value because you were competing against the market to get it.
Yeah. And the agent had set that as the price really anyway. So we sort of all knew it was going to be around that price. I mean, that's, they looked at the land value, they looked at what was left of the house and said, well, that's the price. So the reno does add value, but like you said there, the key is to be buying them sort of before they hit the internet, because then you've got so much more competition from other people wanting to buy them and do the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, thanks for the information.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, I will unmute everyone and let's see. Anyone got a question?
I'm all good.
The last slide.
All good.
Beautiful.
I did have one. Yes, Annie. Norman here.
Yep, hang on, Norman. I will mute everyone first, then I will unmute.
My question was, Lindsay did say that you get investors to fund part of it, but you take on the loan. What if you're in the reverse situation, like me? I've got a substantial deposit, but because I'm the only income earner, the banks won't give me enough money to have a loan.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it can work in different ways, and you're right. You can just reverse it. So then you could go, okay, well, find someone that could be like the serviceability partner for a loan, and then you could work out something with them. Profit share, or depends on who's doing what and that sort of thing. But yeah, there's so many different ways to this, just depending on what side of the equation you are. So in this one, I didn't have the money, but I had the loan. So it would work the other way around too.
But it's just about asking the right questions the right way at the right time.
Yes.
No, fair enough. That's all right.
No worries.
Yeah, I know this one is some of in a group as well. He is the developer, and he's been developing projects or properties with using investors' money. That's what it is. No money down. So, yes, that's kind of program, isn't it?
No, exactly. Yeah, I mean, developers are another kettle of fish, I think. I mean, it's not something I'm familiar with how they do all their funding, but I think it's probably on a much bigger scale, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Anyone has a question so far?
I've got another question if no one else has.
Yes, sure. Go for it.
Just when you're looking at these properties, would it be fair to say that you're doing a FISA or a feasibility on each one to look at what your exit strategy is, and to look at what your target dollars are versus how much you're going to spend, et cetera, to essentially to give you some confidence of how much you're going to walk away with profit-wise?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the medium house price. So wherever you are in Australia, if you're interested in particular suburbs, you really need to know your medium house price for that suburb. So Spence one I recently did, the termites. That is the medium house price, about that 530 mark. So is
that for all houses, or is that for houses of your spec? So 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 1 garage.
Yeah, 3 bed, 1 bath, 600 square meters roughly. Yeah, I don't sort of get down to the finer points of going, it's got and that one's got that. I mean, if they're generally similar, I sort of try and think of myself, you know, as a buyer looking on the internet, looking at my house and looking at what else is there and going, okay, that one's a bit bigger land. My one has this and that. So
yeah, you look at the median for comparable houses as far as your number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, etc. Yeah, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, garages, etc. You're not looking at the median for the suburb as a whole.
Yeah. So I'll look at a 3-bed, 1 bath, roughly the same size block of land, and if I can find any that have been fully renoed, that gives me a good idea as to how much they're selling for. So if all the unrenoed ones are only, you know, 40 grand less, then there's no money in that for me, and I just probably move on to the next one. Yeah.
No, it was the I guess starting with the exit in mind, I was just interested to see how you what techniques you put in place to ensure that you're walking away with money in the pocket and with some certainty rather than a bit of almost blind faith, I guess.
Yeah, and we sort of know now over time roughly what the renos will cost too, so that unknown is gone. We know how much the stamp duty is, we know how much the agent will be, so we sort of ticked off those boxes there, so we know those things. So if someone comes along and says, oh, you know, we've got a house for 450 or 350, then we can have a look at it. Oh yeah, well Spencer's 385. It sold for 5. So we knew there was money in it if we kept everything under control budget wise.
Yeah. So you can look at a deal, and even if they're asking, let's say 380, you can sit there and say, well, you know, from our fees over, we can spend up to, you know, 360, for example. So you can walk in and make that offer, knowing that, and you know, being quite open that, look, I need to rent it, I need to sell it in order for it to work for me. I can only offer 360 and then see what you get.
Oh, that's right. But you also got to look at it and go, look, if the medium is 520 and someone's coming along with a house for 385, it's got a couple of problems. It's probably a pretty good deal. So you got to. I don't sort of argue too much the price if I know it's good, because the agents are going, well, I know it's a good price too. So I think, you know, I probably got 5,000 off this one, but I wasn't game to go in and say, oh, look, I'll give you, you know, 350 or 360, because I knew they'd just go, well, you know, next person, you're wasting my time. So, and that just comes with it. That's just experience in your suburb, so you know it quite well.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Do you have a profit margin you are working on at the moment, Lindsay?
No.
Oh, okay. You just go like, oh, well, it's not really worth it for me to doing it. Is that what's how you just figure out?
Oh, look, I think, you know, Reno is really hard. And I know that some people teach this, you know, you should be making, you know, 25% and all this other stuff. I mean, that's great. And I'm, you know, if I looked at some of my numbers on some of mine, I probably would fit into that category. However, I just sort of look at what the margin would be at the end of it. And I think, you know, if I get 50 grand and do 6 weeks work and it's not really a drama, and I think I can pretty much sell it fairly quickly, I'm pretty happy with that, because we're just in there to turn them over as quick as we can. So I wouldn't go, oh, it's not achieving 25%, it's only getting 22% and all this stuff. I think that teaching that stuff is more for land subdivision and building units, and where you've got to have those margins there for it, you know, it all stack up. But the Reno stuff is more just, I just call it chunks of cash for me. So we can go, oh, look, 50 grand from this one, great. 40 from that one, great. And you just keep rolling along.
So how do you find all the trades? Or you just go by the experience, or just...
Serviceseeking.com.au.
Sorry?
Serviceseeking.com.au.
Serviceseeking.com.au.
.com.au.
And is it Australian wide?
Yep.
Oh, great.
Another one, if anyone watches the block, which they flog a bit, which is highpages.com.au, is a competing site for tradies. So you basically just put your job up on there, say I want to get my house painted, and you know, start accepting quotes and start meeting people.
That's a good hint.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, go for the next one. So,
So
sorry.
anyone who's on Facebook, you can sort of follow along if you're interested. We've just set up a Facebook page there, so I just post some pictures. There's a whole lot of other pictures on there of my renos and stuff over time too. So anyone who's on Facebook, yeah, jump on and have a look.
Thank you very much for that, Lindsay. Any more has a question, or we just about to finish?
Good, how are you?
All right.
I've got one more for time, if I'm not too late.
It seems like.
Can I ask one more question?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
Bruce, is it?
Yep. As far as the trades go, did you engage the individual trades like a plasterer, a painter, a
Hang
carpet
on,
layer, a joiner, a builder, etc.?
hang on. Sorry about this, Bevan. I just a little bit of noise from background, so I will mute everyone, then unmute you. Yeah, sorry about this, Bevan. Go ahead, please. Are you there, Bevan?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, sorry. I thought it was muted.
Yes, I have to mute everyone first, then unmute you. That's where it is. Sorry. Do you have any questions?
No, right.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any questions. No, all the questions have been sort of covered. What everyone else has been asking, so I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah.
Okay, Bruce. What about you, Bruce?
The question was from me. Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. The question was regarding the whether you engage one builder or principal contractor to take on the entire scope of works, or whether you actually engage the individual trades such as a chippy, a plasterer, a painter, electrician, joiner for your cabinetry, etc., etc.
Yeah, I run the show myself, so I'll engage different trades for different jobs, and you could get a builder to do it, but the problem you'll run into is that they'll put their margin on top of all the trades, so it may not. Your numbers may not work out if you start getting. I mean, a builder's definitely easier. They'll do everything, but they might charge you 20, 30, 40 grand for the pleasure. So
I quite understand and quite agree. I'm in a I guess for my paid job. That's what I do is project management. So I can understand the value of project management. I was just more trying to understand your processes as to whether your time is spent on site and project managing and engaging trades and managing trades, or whether you take a more hands-off role, engage one builder and then move on to your next property in order to be managing, to be running, say, 4 or 5 potentially at once. Because there's got to be a point at which you can no longer project manage, 4 or 5 projects at once.
Yeah. Look, we just do a couple at a time. I'm happy with that. I didn't really want to have 5 on the go or any of that. So in that situation, I just manage the trades. So I'll be on site for sort of the important days, which are the first couple of days. And then once we sort of get to the stage where the painters are there, they know what to do. So it's sort of, a lot of it goes on autopilot, but I am on site, and you do need to be on site. I mean, it's very difficult to run the early days of a reno where all the trades are asking what gets demolished, what now. So you will spend some time on site. But yeah, you're right. I engage the trades and use that by pages or service seeking to find them.
Fantastic.
I think it's for the first stage, like if we are just beginner, I think for me, I would rather hire the builder to start with. Then we just learn as we go. That's what that's what's my thinking.
Yeah, that would be the way to learn on the job, engage the builder and learn on the job, study the order of trades and take notes and take a smaller cut the first time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. That's good. I hope we'll learn all of that. What I do actually, because I need to know. Any more questions? We have a few more minutes, then we can wrap up.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
I
in the
guess it's
group anyway, so if people want to send messages to me there, I'm in there too. So.
no problem. This isn't so much a question, but more an observation when we were talking about builders. But I guess there's also, you know, as you engage a builder, you could probably offer them incentives. You know, if they can cut costs but still meet Australian standards with the renos, you could, you know, even do a profit share there and encourage them somehow.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, it's another way of doing it. Yep.
Yeah, that's good. So that's not the bribes, is it?
No, I'm an accountant by day, so definitely not.
That's right. I'm just kidding. Okay, it seems like no more questions, so we will finish for tonight. Thank you very much for your time, Lindsay.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah,
Thanks, Lindsay.
if you
Thanks,
have any,
Lindsay.
if you have any question, you can always put it on the group because Lindsay in the group as well.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night,
It was
everyone.
really good.
Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Have you done?
All right, I will hang on. All right, I will close the meeting at the moment, and I will see if the recording is really good. Then I will put it up on the group. Otherwise, it's just leave it like that. Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone. All right, see you then. Thank you. I don't know how to close it.